Hey guys, it's Jake Jones. It is a beautiful March evening in Chicago. We're doing okay. We live in a metropolis, and you know what that means. Especially where you're coming at you from the end times. I tell you, if this is the end times, I ain't too impressed. Let's get down to business. I mean, this whole coronavirus thing, if you live in a major city, really any city in America, and you went to the supermarket today, I went to Aldi because that's what's in my budget, naturally. I'm a 22-year-old aspiring stand-up comic, and that's pretty much been shut down because it's not a legitimate profession. But any, job where you get paid, and I'm getting paid, but that's not how. I get paid all right. Because I'm a fucking rapper on the side and yada yada. DoorDash, you know the drill. But, yeah, stand-up comedy's been shut down because here in Chicago, it's a fucking joke. Everybody's sensitive. Everybody's a fucking alphabet person, which is fine. But there's a certain point where you're just a pussy. I don't have a problem if you're fucking trans, bi, queer, whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is, you need a little street smarts. You need some grit. You need an aura of, I'm not going to be taken down if you're going into the profession of comedy. And that's why it sucks in large part nowadays. And this is why podcasts are so useful. And this is why, despite the madness and chaos that is happening around us, we have to be grateful to some extent. You don't have to be, but I do in order to fucking live with myself. Because we live in a great time. This is George Carlin's dream, what is happening right now. And it's so chaotic, in fact, and we get to view it at the touch of a screen, at our fingertips. Our toys are amazing. Amazing. So amazing that we're addicted. We literally can't get off our phones. Okay? Now, I'm sitting here, window wide open, with a six-pack of Vista Bay hard seltzer. I'm thinking about switching to hand sanitizer. Please excuse me, I got the Wuhan cough. This is my first legitimate podcast as well. Over the years I did some with my good friend Borislav and David Castro and Saul. I've done him with a few friends over the years, but I figured, it is such an obvious choice to, vent, to get these thoughts off your chest. Because, look, the way the Democratic primary is going right now is really just a dick slap in the face to anybody who's even the least socially liberal. You don't want the government bothering you and shit. And the fact that Tulsi Gabbard, the one candidate, still running by the way, at first I'm like, come on. When everybody was dropping out of the Democratic Party, Yang, fucking Tom Steyer, fucking Bloomberg even, I didn't think it was going to happen that quickly. And now Warren's gone too. No, Tulsi stays in. Now at first I'm like, dude, you literally have no chance. And that still holds true. But she's not trying to win. She's not, I don't think, it's a little bit delusional because I think at their heart, a lot of women, and a lot of men too, a lot of people, I should say, are delusional. And you kind of have to be to get anything done. And what worries me now is that the person that I showed up to vote for on Monday, Senator Bernard Sanders, who I call the Colonel, that guy is now going on a fucking press tour saying Joe Biden is my friend when he's clearly fucking losing. And Joe Biden has such an atrocious career. And I know I'm going to get shit on well, he's better than Trump. Like, no. Have you seen his record? Now, granted, Trump has the marked advantage of being in the donor class for most of his life. Okay, so he's had the chance to disguise himself as a Democrat or a Republican, just like Bloomberg, one of his golf buddies. Up until 2015, he was playing golf with Bill Clinton. Okay, do you see the parallels here? When you're part of that club, you don't have to have a party. But for some reason, if you're a worker, if you're a lower class person, if you're a minority, you have to be part of this binary system. And I don't fucking buy it. I don't fucking buy it one fucking bit. So anyway, there's this hashtag on Twitter now, because this is all I do nowadays is Twitter ever since we've had to stay indoors. Which I'm okay with, personally. I've stayed indoors for most of my life. I was born in 1997, which means that I am the official starting line of the Zoomer generation. So I have seen all the pratfalls of the millennials. I've seen the boomers shit on us constantly. And I've seen the birth defects of Zoomers after me. But I'm the beginning of this generation, which feels good, because 97 really was a good year. You had Biggie drop Life After Death, which to this day is one of my favorite albums. Highest grossing movie of all time, Titanic. You had a lot of milestones in that year. And it comes with the added advantage of being able to say, I'm a 90s kid. Yeah, I'm a 90s kid. I'm so hip. I'm so real. You don't even know what it's like. So anyway, the hashtag on Twitter is Let Tulsi Speak. Tulsi, and I'm quoting Tim Canova here. I don't know who he is, but I retweeted him. Tulsi Gabbard is only woman, person of color, and combat veteran in this race. Yet, neither Bernie Sanders nor Joe Biden object to DNC changing its own rules to exclude her from next debate. And they call Donald Trump the lying, racist, misogynist. What are they afraid of? And that's a good point. I've been Bernie. Let me get one thing straight. Most Bernie supporters make a mistake in their support of Bernie, in that they get emotionally attached, which is easy to do when you've invested time and money. And this is why I've only donated $3 to the guy. And that was to get his book. I donated $3 to Bernie Sanders because he was going on a promotion, and he was just like, I'm giving away my book. And so I got the book in the mail eventually. I donated my $3 and I got the book in the mail. The book sucks. He is straight up a shitty writer. I'm not sure if he had a ghostwriter. I don't think he did, but it would have helped if he had. So I figured, hey, I'll get the book so that maybe I can give it to my mom and introduce her to the cool ideas that I agree with. And this gets to the point about Bernie Sanders, why I supported him in the 2016 election as well as the 2020 election, because I agree with his policies. It's that simple, he has a track record, hasn't shifted, has been consistent. But now we're starting to see the cookie crumble. Now we're starting to see, just like in 2016, and to their credit, some of my friends warned me about this, and I'm like, if it happens, it happens, and it might happen. You might be right, but I'm still going to support him because I agree with the policies. Nevertheless, he folds like a deck of cards when it comes to Joe Biden. And it almost seems like he's ready to hang on the coattails of him when, in fact, people are saying, oh, he's going to lose. Well, not necessarily. Bernie has actually, if you look at it in terms of delegate count, he has a good chance of winning still. And this is being recorded after Super Tuesday, after North Dakota, and he lost Michigan and Missouri. He could still very well turn this thing around. But he has to come at Biden like with the full-on truth about him and his reckless decisions in Congress. I think Biden is like the longest serving senator or one of them. And over that time, he has flip-flopped like a fish on deck so many fucking times. And, you know, I'm just sick of his fucking antics. Like, the fact that the Democratic Party is willing to just punish this old man who clearly has mental decline, you know, dementia, whatever, Alzheimer's, whatever you want to fucking call it. He forgets his sister. He calls his wife his sister. And he forgets fucking real politician quotes that politicians have memorized before going, we're destined by our, you know, the thing. It's unbelievable, man. It's just, this is your guy. And the only explanation I have, I put it like this. We have a one-party system. If you're smart, reasonably, if you've examined this shit enough, you have ultimately come to that conclusion. That we have a one-party system with two brands. Okay? The Republican Party is like the dad party. It's got machismo. It's got the pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And a lot of men naturally go to that because it has no vulnerability to it. It just says, like, we take care of ourselves. And, you know, to a certain extent, I agree with that. I'm a capitalist. I'm a businessman. But I'm not stupid. The Republicans are the daddy party, okay? They beat the shit out of the country. They beat the shit out of the kids. And the Democrats are the mommy party. They act like they're on the side of the kids. And this could be because I was in an unstable household. I was in my parents, they had a terrible marriage and shit, and it went on and on and on. So I've been able to observe this dynamic up front, so I could tell you this when I make this analogy, but it's absolutely true. The Democrats are the mom party who pretend to be on the side of the kids, or actually are in some cases, but they fight the big fights and they always lose because they're just not as strong. Their philosophy is not as strong. Because they'd actually have to be on your side. So, but they stick in the toxic relationship with the Republicans because it is in their best interest to do so. That's what it comes down to, financial interest. And really, it makes sense. This is the thing you gotta understand about politicians. They're better than you. And I don't mean like, oh, bow down. I mean like, no. They've played the game. They know how this shit works. They are smarter. They are more clever. They understand how to control you. And once they lose that control, they lose power. Luckily for them, they have the media on their side. They have huge amounts of money on their side, but they gotta give a little to get a little. Now, the main course of this podcast. The Wuhan coronavirus, or as it's known in politically correct circles, the coronavirus. If you get sick, obviously this applies around the world, but in America you have to stress it. If you get sick, even if it's just a cold, please, for the love of fuck, stay home. Okay? If you need money that badly, sell drugs. Because that's all you got now. There's no paid leave. There's no health care. They say testing is free. Testing. But if you test positive, the treatment is not free. I've even heard in some cases in Seattle, the testing itself is not free. It's like $1,600 if you don't have insurance, which, if I'm not mistaken, is about a quarter of the American population. And what Bernie Sanders has done, even if he loses, which I predict he will, he's in the history books. He is in the history books. You cannot deny that. As one of the forefathers, along with Teddy Roosevelt, of progressive thought. Now, personally, I think Teddy Roosevelt was much more of a badass. Maybe that was due to the era he was living in, where you didn't have to fucking play slap ass as much as you do now. But that doesn't mean you necessarily have to. I think Bernie is just genuinely, he's been sissied out by these social justice warriors that I've spoke out against for my entire speaking career. Because they've really just doused the left in their own feces. Not in a good way either, if you're into that. But Bernie Sanders, he's made the case for universal health care, blah, 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 for so long, just for a basic, smart government, I call it. Smart government. You know, you get these idiots on Facebook like, blah, 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 guns, like, they care about one issue. They're a single issue person, right? And your philosophy isn't even fully formed about the world, so why the fuck should anybody listen to you? We can have policy disagreements. We can have all the disagreements in the fucking world, okay? That's what free speech is about. But then you come down to, like, what's happening right now. What administrative task force is being implemented across the land? And I gotta tell you guys, like, I mean, Italy, I don't know what they put in their water. I do know Italy has kind of had an incestuous relationship with China. You know, if you ever play Marco Polo, that might ring a bell. But maybe there's some relation there. But Italy, I'm Italian American. You know, I'm actually third generation, but I consider myself Italian American because I do. So fuck you. And this upsets me. You know, this because it's just such a great country in so many ways. They shut down all shops. This is how great Italy is compared to the United States. They shut down all their shops, right? They left the liquor and cigarette shops open and the newspaper stands open. You see what I'm saying? They have a cultural identity, which the Americans lack. The Americans do not have a cultural identity. And I don't know why I'm fucking drunk. Don't listen to me. Ever. My first podcast. Fucking deal with it. Alright, so obviously as a comedian, you take precaution. You take a level of responsibility. Just avoid crowds. That's actually easy. That's easier for comedians to do than you might imagine. If you aren't one. Dude, fucking Tom Hanks has got it. Like, what a time to be alive. Can we just end on that note? What a fucking time to be alive. You see, Tom Hanks has got the coronavirus, and then they post memes under it of him hanging out with Oprah and Gayle King, and there's this picture that says, "I am not allowed to talk." He's holding up this note. This could very well be Photoshop, but it's fucking hilarious. You got fucking O.J. Simpson posting videos on Twitter of him spraying dollar bills to avoid corona. Dude, say what you want about O.J., okay? Look, he's so fucking entertaining. Like, this cat has had a life. He's had a full-on life that most people could only dream of. I will explain why Zoomers are the greatest generation that I know of in history. Now, it's true, they probably will have... I'm speaking as the front of it. I'm on the front lines of the Zoomers, like I said. But we're the greatest because we've just accepted death. We've embraced the absurdity in large part. Some of us haven't. Some of us are still trying to climb that ladder that's impossible to climb, but the minute you smoke a little bit of weed, you know, in your teens, the moment you just kind of lay back and realize that nobody's going to give you shit other than your parents, and you're going to have to suck dick even to get that much, you know, in some cases. But it really comes down to, what is your basis of thinking? Is it positive or negative? The ability to hold two thoughts in your head at the same time. Two philosophies, you know? On one hand, I believe that only good things are going to happen to me, right? Not only good things, obviously, but like in the big picture. I'm going to look back on my life whenever I die. I'm going to say, hey, I did pretty good. Obviously, I can be profound because I'm a drunk. But a lot of people just get caught up in the minutia, which is very easy to do because we live in the social media landscape where a lot of people, that's their life. That's their life, is checking Instagram, checking Snapchat. I'm like, dude, like, get with the fucking program. Like, you're in the Matrix, dude. Like, take the fucking red pill, blue. I don't know what the fuck. I think it's a red pill. Whatever. Just get out. Just take a walk, you fat ass. You know. Yeah, scarf down. After you scarf down that lobster ravioli frozen, take a fucking walk. You know. Inhale. Fucking have a smoke. Do whatever you gotta do, but just enjoy your life. Because it's going away. Climate change is real. As far as I know. I've checked the fucking statistics. I've checked the fucking science. I don't know. Maybe it's some big fucking conspiracy if you look hard enough. But you know what? I'm not going to believe these fucking idiots who fucking, you know, send me flat earth videos and shit like they're real. It's like, dude, I know you're trolling. Like, please tell me you're trolling. Please. I get it. And listen, I'm one of the biggest advocates of skepticism. Like, I don't hate anti-vaxxers. This is something, as a leftist, that pisses off almost all of my leftist friends, is when I talk about vaccines. Just like, oh, no, because I'm also a libertarian, because I'm also like an anarchist, so I don't give a shit about the outcome, because if you look at every other species, if you look at it, like, get a hold of yourself. It was once, you know, the age of the fucking dinosaurs. They were the number one species. You know, there was a lot of them. You know, we categorize them because we're humans. We do that. But they were the kings. Dinosaurs were the fucking kings. What happened? They died off because the earth changed. The environment changed. And this is just nature's way of saying, hey, watch out. Watch out. It's coming. And I don't see what's a problem with that. And to tie into the anti-vax thing, yes, I get it. They're anti-science. They're idiots. But you know what? I understand why they're skeptical, and I'm going to give you one reason why, which, because I'm an idiot, I just found out on fucking Twitter today. It's called the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. I didn't know about this. It was from 1932. It was a study conducted by the United States Public Health Service from 1932 to to 1972. This is amazing. I'll tell you why. Because it went on for 40 goddamn years. They collected a bunch of African American men. Okay? They told them they were receiving free health care from the United States government. The purpose of the study was to observe the natural history of untreated syphilis. You can look this up on Wikipedia. And they just injected them with fucking syphilis. And they were told that they were being treated for quote-unquote bad blood. They literally poisoned these motherfuckers. The government... You see, this is why anti-vax people in general, particularly black people, yeah, they have no fucking reason to trust the government. You say you don't trust the government? Yeah, no shit. I'm sick of this the people on the left who say, oh, the government is just gonna be, as soon as we get universal health care, it's gonna be peachy keen. It's like, no. The bigger portion of people are the boomers, okay? And I know you want me to talk about this. Because SJWs, as much as we hate them, I think overall they're a fad. Not the political correctness aspect of it, because the corporations have already milked that for all it's worth. You know, the corporations have actually... This is part of capitalism, if you think about it. The SJW phase that you saw in media, that was capitalism's fault. You don't see fucking Russia, and I know Russia is not technically communist, but they basically are, okay? But Russia doesn't give a fuck about political correctness. They're still fucking oppressing gay people and like... So they don't give a shit. They're fucking hard. Russians are fucking gangsters, and that's what I admire about them, even as a bisexual male. Like, I can blend in, you know? Luckily, I'm not one of those super gay dudes like, hey, oh, is that caught me? Oh. So, you know. And in the end, Bernie Sanders, you know, you can't get emotionally attached to the guy because at the end of the day, he's a politician. It's unsurprising to see him pull politician tricks, you know, and he's losing. Is he really dumb enough? This is my question of the evening. Is Bernie Sanders really dumb enough to truly believe that Joe Biden can defeat Donald Trump at the mental stage that he's in? Do you really think he believes that? When he's asked on CNN, he's like, do you think Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump? He's like, yes, I think he can beat Donald Trump. But you know what? Universal health care. It's like, that's not going to work, Bernie. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're in a fucking primary. The left needs a Trump. It really does. You don't be fucking racist and shit, but you gotta have that sort of fucking... You gotta have that panache to you. You gotta have that controversy. Because a lot of leftists, guess what? They are controversial. That's why they're constantly lumped in with the fucking Alex Joneses of the world. And once you go down that slide, you realize that Alex Jones is actually, you know, you agree with him on a lot of shit. Even if everything he's saying is factually false, he's a good person. Like, I think he's not a bad guy. Okay? I don't know if he's a good person, but I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's fucking hilarious, okay? He's certainly... Can we just agree on this? Even if you're like a hardcore leftist, just like, fuck all this disinformation in the media. Can we agree that Alex Jones has contributed more to the human experience than fucking Anderson Cooper? Like, okay, I'll get off that. But the media has no obligation to give you the truth. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. All you Elizabeth Warren fucking neckbeard Dungeons and Dragons cunts who are only focused on the woke aspect of liberalism but never delve into full-on policy. And that's a shame because Elizabeth Warren used to be well known in leftist circles as a policy wonk. I don't know what happened. I guess the same shit that might have happened to Bernie Sanders in 2016 when he was enlisted to endorse Hillary Clinton. Like, I understand. I understand being directly, influenced, for lack of a better word, by the Clinton mafia family, because, who knows? Like, they've killed people. I think it's reasonable to assume they had a hand in that. I don't know. Who gives a shit? Somebody did. If not them, then somebody they knew. Anyway, I was saying that the government has no... or the media, which, when you think about it, is a branch of the government, they have no obligation to serve you up the truth. Now, that can be a blessing and a curse, because on one hand, it leads to a more misinformed population. And this is where I agree with Elizabeth Warren when she says, people should be held accountable and Facebook should be held accountable. I agree. Facebook should be held accountable when they promote disinformation. The problem with that is, who's going to hold them accountable? The government? I don't think so. And it goes both ways. I think Americans need a thicker skin when it comes to just doing their own research. And a lot of this is already happening. The Zoomer generation is probably the best at it. The millennials started it. But really, this election is being decided by the boomers still. And that's a real shame, because that's just going to set us back even further from progress. Like, I've been saying this for years, fucking, when I tripped on LSD and shit, like, I know this isn't important, but what I saw was fucking hilarious. Like, I saw fucking ancestors coming on the ship, and I saw, Homo erectus shifting into Homo sapiens. I'm like, oh my god. It's like, what else do you need? What else do you need, man? I took that as a message, because when you have something meaningful and impactful in your life, obviously you're going to find something in it that carries you into that next month or year or even decade, that next step in your life. We all have it. We all have it, and don't act hard like you don't. You do, okay? Otherwise, what's the point of even going on? I think my message at the end of the day for my first official solo podcast is evolution is calling us, folks. And even in the midst of destruction, I do believe that we have an opportunity here to answer its call in several ways. That doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. That doesn't mean that we're going to even get close to what we want. But like, that's not important. When some people are just so fucking pedantic. I know, because I was one of these people. You're focused on the fucking details, but you don't look at the big picture. Okay? If you inspected every Van Gogh painting by our standards for fucking aesthetic and fucking modern day political correctness, like, you see the flaws that people find in fucking 80s movies going back to the 60s, which we agree are classics. Bonnie and Clyde, like, oh, The Graduate, maybe those aren't good examples, but say maybe Casablanca or some shit. One of those old 40s film noirs where they slap women around a lot. I was like, oh, it was bad. Yeah, but it's still a great movie. Like, who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? And don't you kind of want to have that in your art? Don't you want to have those flaws of the era? Isn't that what art is? The honesty? The honesty. That is what we really want. And I'm going to end on that note. Be honest even when it's inconvenient, because, don't be a dick, obviously. I'm not promoting that. But, find a way to be honest and nice at the same time. The greatest thing about the coronavirus is that if you live in a metropolis like Chicago, it's the high-class hypochondriacs versus homeless people. And it is a showdown, motherfucker. I mean, just today at Aldi, when I was in line at the checkout, this fucking homeless dude cut in front of me with a generic 2 liter of Coke, Okay, and he's like, oh, get out. I was like, yeah, obviously, of course. I don't give a shit. I'm probably already infected anyway. And yeah, but I didn't know there were other people in front of me. That's how fucked it was. So I'm just like, yeah. So like, I didn't ask the other people around me. I mean, who are white? So who gives a shit, right? It's a black dude. So it's like, of course you're gonna let him cut in front of you. Why wouldn't you? You're not a racist, are you? So, but it's cool. It's cool. You know what? It's cool because there's a lot of cops in my neighborhood. Now, I hate police when it's convenient. I do. But moving to a busy city though, particularly in a low income area, the second I moved here, literally the day I moved here, like, I am not promoting police in any way. I believe they should be abolished. But let's just admit, if you've actually been in a situation of crisis, I'm not saying police are the ones to do it. I'd rather have a militia. Believe me, I'd rather have a fucking, like, well-stocked militia to fuck things up. But this is what we got. When I first moved here, I was driving on the avenue. This homeless dude just literally just laid down in the street in front of me. I almost hit him, swear to God. He lays down on the street in front of my fucking vehicle. I'm like, what the fuck? And he just wouldn't stay. And he just wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave. I'm like, am I supposed to keep going? Like, I'm at a stop sign. Like, what the fuck? And I think he was just done. I think he wanted to die, genuinely. And I don't fucking blame him. I want to die some days, too. So, but, let me put it this way. Somebody's got to come around and do the job. Somebody's got to scrape them off the pavement. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's got to do it. So in that situation, I was glad as hell that the pig showed up. So there's that. And some people are gonna get triggered, but I don't care. Fuck them. So I'm pro-gun, but I'm sick of these fucking jackwagons on Facebook being like, this is the only thing that matters. Like, just keep off of my guns. Like, do you have half a brain to realize that guns, believe it or not, even if you're like a hardcore gun enthusiast, NRA motherfucker, and a lot of liberals, a lot of conservatives, our guns have a huge crossover. The only people who care about them are like fucking Mike Bloomberg, who's had a silver spoon up his ass his entire life. Luckily, guns do have a good lobby in this country. What can I say? It's just a fact. You know? I wish fucking alcohol lobbies were as strong so that we could get the age down to 18 so I wouldn't have had to suffer for fucking 5 years of fucking reckless potential DUIs and so on, but that's all in the past. The number one issue for most Americans is healthcare. It's what it is, man. And if the right isn't willing to address that, then you've got a fucking problem. I mean, we already have a fucking problem. It's us as a nation. Like, it's not even a fucking political thing. We're just trained to think that way. That's why Bernie Sanders appeals to people. And ultimately, the case that I've been making over the months is that socialism, at least social democracy, which Bernie Sanders, that's his technical position, even though he won't admit to it. Another reason why he's losing is because he won't admit that he's never been a socialist at his core, because then he would have never made money off his fucking book. I don't blame him for making money. You know? He's a Jew. I'm 12% Jewish. I get it. I get it. We're all about the Benjamins, baby. I get it. It's all good. That's why Israel and America are our best pals, because we love money. There's nothing wrong with that. But the hypocrisy lies in the labels. It's like being a male feminist, right? It's like, obviously, any decent man, they don't judge that, you know, we love women, but when you say you're a male feminist, it automatically becomes rapey. There's just no getting around it. I'm sorry. In the modern age, like back then, obviously, when you didn't have the right to vote, of course, being a male feminist was very different. But you didn't call yourself a male feminist either. Maybe you did. I don't fucking know. Either way, we didn't hear about those male feminists. But, they got the right to vote, and then eventually they got more college degrees than men. They have longer lives than men. So, I don't know. Rape aside, it seems like a pretty good deal. You can choose not to have kids. Obviously, I'm pro-abortion completely, 100%. Most of the problems are attributed to population growth. This exponential population growth that we have. And I do think pulling out is the number one thing you can do for the environment. I'm sick of these environmental cucks telling me that I can't throw my beer can on the ground or I can't put out a cigarette on the sidewalk. But then they have 5 kids on a leash. What are you doing? Shut the fuck up, bitch. You don't give a fuck about the environment. You've just quadrupled your carbon footprint right there. Pulling out, it's number one thing. Long as kids are still being made, I will not feel one modicum of guilt for throwing my beer can on the ground. That's all I'm going to say. People who reproduce are the biggest eco-terrorists on the fucking planet. I probably won't have kids because to me, it's just impractical. I don't like children, but as it stands, you have to control the population in order to sustain any system. Remember, the real nihilists are the losers who sacrifice their own enjoyment of life in the hopes the next generation will value the same failures and pick up the slack. If the NBA can cancel an entire season, you can quit your fuck-ass cashier job. It's I want to live in a country where the possibility of getting shot is very real and omnipresent. But if I do, I have the right to receive instant medical treatment that's all paid for. Can we agree with that? Can we agree on that? Because a lot of these gun motherfuckers, these 2A motherfuckers, are also completely anti-tax. I'm well, you can't run a fucking system where nobody is accountable. Okay? You just can't. The currency is not that fucking strong. It's just not. Have you seen the Dow Jones today? Have you seen how fragile our economy is? You don't understand the fucking economy. Taxes are part of the modern day economy. I wish we could go back to the days where it wasn't, but it fucking is, and that's a fact, Jack. Okay? Now, if you say, I want to push for a system where we won't need that, I completely agree with you. I'm in your corner 100%. Okay? We're not at that point. We need social programs to actually to give people the education, just the basic, the purpose, for lack of a better word. I know it's sentimental, but the gall to just push forward and say, yes, we're gonna do something different. I'm going to do something. I'm going to build my business. You need opportunity. We don't have that now in America. We don't. It's the 21st century. We got too many fucking people. And this is why, at the end of the day, overpopulation is the number one problem. Overpopulation. This has been Jake Jones podcast. Thanks for listening.